Hello everybody, and today is the fourth day, day 4. It's a day 4 of our journey through wonder questions, through wondering about the world, about history. So, I think by now you are getting not just the past, I hope. As you are seeing, those who are following day 1, day 2, day 3, you are slowly seeing not just the past, what happened in the past, but seeing how the present can be explained because of the past. That is the main thing. The present has to be explained because of the past. So now because we see agriculture, you should understand that it happened then. Now because you see agriculture, in agriculture, the kind of technology we use, like we use all the things which we use to, like manure, like the kind of techniques we use in agriculture today, a lot of it was invented then only, because agriculture was the first invention, the greatest invention of man. Domestication we see today. Milk and meat, keeping animals with you and you using those animals for your own food and surviving for long periods of time, we see today. Villages we see today. Pottery, the same pottery we see today. Clothing, even the basic techniques of clothing, when you go into clothing, later maybe we'll go into the clothing when we come to how things work. In that section, we'll see the more detailed into how clothes are made. The basic principles of clothing was also invented then. Jewelry, clothing. Then I also call living together as a group, as a kind of invention only, as a kind of idea only, because man is born alone. But to live together in the group started from Paleolithic age, from the early man stage. So we also have that principle. Then we have that how technology expands the power of man. I'm repeating the same concepts because these are very, very basic concepts. Division of labor, invention of money. Organization came. Last class we had such a deep, detailed discussion. I felt that it's very rare to have such a deep discussion on a school level only, on the basic level only, that on a long river, communities had a vested interest, a self-interest, rational self-interest to join together to make the produce more powerful. The produce also became more powerful because large areas of land could be tilled due to inventions again, indirectly through metals and directly through carpentry. So tilling the land became easy, tilling the land with animals, tilling the land with men first and then animals, using the animals there again. You see, everything starts joining together. So when you had these rivers and everything joined, we found out the basic features of having a civilization. Civilization is the biggest wonder of which man created. Actually, it's a wonder because civilization is not there in state of nature. In fact, many people are critical of civilization also, because they see the obvious fact that peace doesn't come easily. My view is that peace comes only when we become wiser. So wisdom is also a component. Ignorance is not good and wisdom is good. Even this, I think, is, for me, this also, if you look at human nature directly, is a kind of wisdom. So they were looking for wisdom in human beings. They were looking for technology in human beings. In the great civilizations, these inquiries became intense. You can also see it as man's adventure. Many people are critical of man's adventure, the ascent of man. They think it is all nothing. We should go back to villages and we should go back to early man stage. Of course, there are many viewpoints, but if you see history, this is an adventure of man, taking large-scale areas, living peacefully for a long periods of time. And the adventure of man to make lives of not thousands, but millions of people so safe happened because of the wondrous creation of civilization, which had inventions going along with people working together, going along with kings, and that central authority ruling man was a kind of first invention. Then living together, division of labor. Division of labor and invention of money became a big issue. Once money was introduced, it was like how agricultural lands were tilled, large lands were tilled. Once money was introduced, the whole trade became powerful. You know, the whole civilization, man as we see now, you have to imagine hundreds and thousands, millions of people, hundred thousands of people, millions of people living together in river valleys. So that kind of civilization was invented. I'm using the word invented because it doesn't come automatically. Nothing comes automatically. There are no free lunches, as they say. So, but this did give rise to huge prosperity. Now we'll obviously now we'll see all those principles how they simply apply. So today's class is actually relatively easy because we know the common features of all the civilizations. Today we'll look at 2 civilizations, maybe 3. We'll start with Egyptian civilization. So Egyptian civilization was a very peculiar civilization. It's we also have, all of us know about pyramids. So Egyptian civilization is very peculiar because of the geography. If you look at the map and look at Africa and you can look at Egypt, you will see a long river, thousands of kilometers of a river. Nile and Amazon rivers are huge, long rivers. There lies the Nile, and the interesting thing is, Nile is a bountiful river. In fact, one of the Greek kings called the Nile, the Egyptian civilization, the Egyptian land itself, as the gift of the Nile. Gift of the Nile. You know, it's a beautiful poetic word. You know, this is not a small word. Why gift? Gift of life. Nile had these rivers which flooded. Very rich it made the soil, because every year there was annual flooding. You could rely on Nile to give you produce. Once you connected all the villages, you had a king, you could rely on Nile to take care of your civilization. So simple it became. And one more thing which made the Egyptian civilization very safe and stable for thousands of years, starting from 2500 BC, is that there was deserts all around. When you go to the map, you can have a look at the map today, deserts all around. So it becomes very difficult for people to attack. Yet, there were 3 kingdoms in the Egyptian civilization, and there were always political turmoil because of the richness. So richness comes with the negative aspect of man. Man has both the sides, the positive and the negative. That's where wisdom comes in. In every civilization, you go to any civilization, anywhere in the corner of the earth, you will have good, you will have bad, and you will have wisdom. You know? So it's always, as you say, like a movie. Always there's some drama going on. Every era, life itself is a kind of drama, and that is a state of nature. Like when you look at dogs or ants, they have their own drama, they have their own way of living. I look at human life like that. I'm purposefully focusing on human beings as living in a state of nature. I'm using the word of John Locke, state of nature. How is man? You imagine 100 people went in an island and they want to start civilization. What will they do? They'll do exactly this. They'll first find out some invention, they'll try to give themselves more leisure. Leisure also is a very important thing. So in civilization, all the wonderful aspects of, actually I would say wonderful aspects of living together, richness and inventions and leisure and thinking. Thinking comes in another area. So now one more very important aspect is knowledge. A lot of knowledge started with civilization. Knowledge comes from observation. Let us try to understand knowledge. What is knowledge? Knowledge comes from observations of the world around. If all the time you're thinking about food, you don't have any time to think about knowledge. But in the Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, maybe Indus Valley civilization also, actually which is lost, we'll come to that in the next class, people made observations because they had leisure. And writing was also discovered. Legal codes were discovered. So Egyptian civilization also had, we come to one more very important variable. Knowledge is one thing, unfortunately I would say, and religious beliefs. So let us understand religion. We must understand religion, otherwise you can't make head or tail of civilization, I think. Really, what is religion? Like when you're born, all of us, when you're born, your mother and father says you are a Christian, you are a Muslim, you are a Hindu. What is this religion? Is it just a God? Is it just that there is a God and then you should follow rules and obey the rules? What is the connection between God and rule and human life? If I am taking a state of nature, if I am assuming that earth is the only place where human beings live, at least as a historian I have to be scientific, then what is this religion? What does religion talk about? This is a very, very important concept for human beings, not dogs. Now I have said they have got food and they have got laws and they are living together. But then ants also are living together. Here comes the spiritual aspect of man. Ants are also living together. They are living together quite well, better than us also. What is it that man seeks? You see Shakespearean dramas, there is always the evil conquering finally. If you notice, even today in our world today, you see so much of political turbulence, not because of any big reason. The only reason is because of the two elements in us. Man searches for meaning. When he doesn't find meaning, he does senseless things. Really. He does senseless things. Man has an energy. You can't contain it. You can't put it in a watertight bottle. It will burst. History is a complete proof of that. So that is what happened. In the Egyptian civilization, of course, we had the Nile River and the desert. We already talked about political control. Everybody tries to have political control. The power, lust. So man's nature has two aspects. One aspect of wisdom, the other aspect of wanting power. Let's use simple words. Everybody wants some kind of a power. It's like a sanction. He thinks that is the meaning of life. If I'm a king, then I'm a great man. That feeling of vanity, that feeling of in India it is called ahankara, the ego. The ego is the sense of fanatic blind belief that you are right and you are there to take care of masses, and a sense of false power and blind power is inherent in human nature. Inherent in human nature if there is no wisdom. So obviously along the whole journey, we will see in the future also, the Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, you will see all these religions coming. Religion is a way by which man tries to make sense of the world. I repeat, religion is a way by which man tries to make sense of the world, find meaning and real happiness and joy. It's a seeking. It is a seeking. It is not a small thing. Actually, you will say, sir, these are all big ideas. We want just a normal life. You are saying. Every man says he wants a normal life. But if you observe his life, all the time he worries about how I can make my life better, how I can make my life happier. The ambition in man to be happy, man doesn't know what he wants, but that energy can't be contained. So religion was the first attempt. In every civilization there has to be religion. You take me to an alien civilization, I look for the religion there. Not only the material aspects, I look at the spiritual aspect, if there are human beings there also. Religion has to be. So religion is an old form of, let us use the word, philosophy. Religion is an old starting form of what is, how we should live and what is good for us. Good and bad are definitely practical concepts, powerful concepts. Good, bad, wisdom and religion as a philosophy. I'm using these words, old form of philosophy. This is, any historian will agree, any great historian, classic historian will agree that these deep local, that's why there is a lot of debate about should we disturb a certain tribe because they have been living with a certain belief system, certain feelings in the local level, which works for them, which gives them happiness. You can't just disturb them. You must understand them. You must integrate all the cultures of the world, as Rabindranath Tagore said. Every region has a culture. So we are talking today about Egyptian culture. So what was the Egyptian religion? It was a strange religion. And it has got a very interesting aspect. The king and the priest or the church or the religion were usually separate, except in Egypt, in the whole of history. In the whole of history, the king was different. Even in our Hindu, they say Kshatriya and Brahmin, But in Egypt, the Brahmin, the god, was the Kshatriya. Maybe because the king had to be the god. At that time. Remember carefully. At that time, logically, the king had to be the god because he was actually God. You understand? In the Egyptian civilization, the king had to be God. I feel because Egyptian civilization, with the gift of the Nile, so much of richness was there. The king assumed one kind of a beyond human beings kind of power. And that took him, you will never understand pyramids otherwise. That took him to a mad construction of pyramids wherein they used to keep dead bodies. So one more belief they had. These are all beliefs. There is no scientific evidence for it. This was at that time. Now if you have that belief, it will be wrong. It will be irrational. But that time, it is understandable because man had just started. He did not know where he was, what is this world, where he is living. He felt that sense of helplessness. and so many factors combined to make a peculiar belief come up in Egyptian civilization, and that is that the pharaoh or the king was called pharaoh, is also a god. So he used to never marry a ordinary human being. He used to marry his own sister. So it was all clan centric. So from only that blood, and even his dead body. One more belief they had, very strong belief and very peculiar belief. In Hindu beliefs, we have that the soul comes out of the body and takes rebirth. The Egyptians at that time, because it was ancient civilization, they believed that the body doesn't die at all. The body doesn't die. It is some kind of a rest, or it is living. They could not understand death fully. That came much later. The understanding of death, the understanding of man. For us, it sounds silly. It sounds silly for us because of the wisdom given by our books and our culture and everything around. You know, we are implicitly very rational, very reason-based, very enlightenment-based. But that also came from history only, which we'll see in the future videos. So two beliefs are there. One, that the Egyptian god is a king only. You know, very deep belief. The second belief is that the Egyptian bodies, the human body, does not die. So everybody built a place called pyramids. Pyramid is a place where they keep a body, and here came technology indirectly. They understood how to preserve a body. If you leave a body, that we can go in detail when we study chemistry, definitely we'll come back to that. How they use technology, use some oils and everything, and made mummies. You know, there are movies also on that. Funny movies, Hollywood movies, mummies. So mummies are dead bodies covered by a cloth and embalmed, and or even the things he likes, the man who dies, whatever he liked, is kept there, and he's put in that pyramid. You know, so you know pyramids, how they are, you know, the rectangular kind of shape like that. Now, king is a god, so a god can't have small pyramids. So they built these huge pyramids, which took years and years and years to make, with lakhs of people working, with incredible genius-like invention of civil engineering, you can say, technology, to make pyramids. Of course, indirectly it gave technology. Here they gave technology of how to preserve a body. There it gave technology. So you can imagine what great thinkers they were to make pyramids. That's why pyramids are called wonders of the world, because to have such huge building kind of things at that time. And they also had the Sphinx, a big god-like thing, you know, standing like that. You can go through the pyramids and Sphinx and how they created it. And the interesting thing is, they wasted wealth by making these pyramids. It's so interesting. See, they took so much money out of people that that kingdom itself came down. There were the three kingdoms. So this is a peculiar belief. They built pyramids. For the king, the pyramids were huge, and you can go through the whole size and everything. And because of the desert, because of the richness, because of the aggressiveness, I think even because of the beliefs of people that king is God, nobody rebelled. So king is God and he will take care of us, everybody. It was quite a stable civilization. It lasted for thousands of centuries. But finally it ended, both because of warfare internally and also because of huge expenditure and wastage due to the making of pyramids. So that is essence about Egyptian civilization. Of course, there were a lot of kings who came one after the other. They are called kingdoms. Old, middle, new kingdoms. This is standard in standard textbooks. We have three divisions in Egyptian civilization: the old kingdom, middle kingdom, and new kingdom. So this is about the very essential concepts of Egyptian civilization. And that Egyptian civilization base and all that knowledge which was created, they started observing. There was a lot of mathematics. Obviously, they can't build pyramids otherwise. Lot of, not fully scientific, but certain insights, lot of insights came in terms of observation. Again, we are talking about knowledge now. I talked already about religion. Religion is a way by which man is trying to find out what is good, what is bad, what is meaning, and all that. There is another aspect of knowledge. Knowledge is about observation of the world, how some things work. So they did a lot of astronomical observations, and there was a lot of technology. You can say broadly that man requires philosophy, meaning he requires knowledge, he requires technology. ideas. All these are ideas only. He requires organization. Organization. He requires a political structure. No matter how much I talk, civilization is a very huge subject. So you can explore it without limit, but I have given you the core essence. Now we come to another amazing civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, which came about. Now it is Iraq and Kuwait. Now Iraq and Kuwait. And Mesopotamian civilization, there were 4 civilizations: Sumerian, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian. So here also it started from 4000th century, and finally it ended with the Persians conquering them. Mesopotamian civilization, obviously because it's Iraq, it's between the other side was Indus and this side was Egyptian, so it was a seat of lot of intermixing. So first thing you have to understand about Mesopotamian civilization is intermixing was a lot. Intermixing was a lot. The other thing is, the name of the river was Tigris, Euphrates, twin rivers, Tigris and Euphrates rivers. You can see the map and you can identify those rivers. Again, because of the rivers, the first civilization which was there, which came was Sumerian civilization. And in the Sumerian civilization, again they had human-like gods. So here again the religious beliefs were human-like gods, and here there were 4 major. There was a lot of development of technology. Again here literature also was developed, and the way philosophy, religion, legal codes were developed was much more. Even writing was much more than other civilizations. That is a major point about Mesopotamian civilization. They started with a script called cuneiform script. Later, after 2000 years, they changed it to, I told in the last class also, Phoenician script, which we use now. The phonetic symbol. Cat has 3 sounds. Through sounds, they solve the problem. With simple sounds, you can create words. With words, you can create the sentence structures. So then you can create writing. So this system of grammar, which we use today, came there. Also, there were 2 great, I would like to mention 2 great kings. One was Sargon of Akkadian. So first the Sumerian came, they ruled for thousands of years, and then Akkadian, then Assyrian, and then Babylonian. Babylon was a small state, and there one great king called Hammurabi had come, who conquered the whole of southern Mesopotamian civilization. Sargon of Akkad also was a famous king at that time. These are the basic concepts of, basic facts about Mesopotamian civilization. And again I am repeating, the development here in terms of legal coding and in terms of technology, in terms of knowledge and philosophy and observations, which is called science, was huge. There was a king called Hammurabi, and one very interesting thing is, this is a very great achievement in the Mesopotamian civilization, is Hammurabi's code of law. So there was a greater precision. I feel that this was a greater development, because once the law becomes more accurate, you are trying to make your practical living more scientific, more tight, more wise and more human. Law. So let me talk about law now. Law is very deep in human nature. You cannot have a civilization, even if you go blindly to some civilization, alien civilization in some Mars or somewhere or any other planet and see a civilization there, you will find deep discussions about law, deep discussions about knowledge and religion, same things. Same thing. History is almost like a science. See? It's a humanistic science, but it is almost like a science. If you take a human nature and if you keep an open mind about all that many, very complex. History is very complex. I'm giving the barest essence, which is why I'm trying to make you self-learners. Tomorrow, your whole of your life, you will see so many things in the world. You will see the political things happening right now. Also, it's a very, very political burning issues are going on right now with Corona and all that. You will understand all these concepts if you read history very easily. In fact, you will be a leader. You have to be. You will take leadership roles. You will feel that energy. You will feel like being the leaders of history. Obviously, if you read so much of history, you will become a leader. You know, history has that great power to empower you more than even science, which I feel is the reason why I'm so critical of the education system, which doesn't give proper importance to social science, especially to history. In fact, if you understand history properly, how the observations came, you'll understand science also. I'll show it to that. I'll show that. My ambition in this 100 or 150 classes is to show everything is connected. History, science, geography, everything is one holistic vision. Okay. So Hammurabi's code of ethics, this guy was a great guy. The first great intellectual, practical intellectual is Hammurabi. He came up with his code of law. Code of law. How law should be. He wrote down all the rules. You can please research to Hammurabi Code of Ethics. Get some idea about Hammurabi Code of Ethics. And how should you research on your own now? Get more research. See how clothing is done, how weaving is done. Where was that? Where was the extent? How big it is? And how the life was. See some pictures. Maybe some documentaries. See them all. You'll get the feel. And in your mind, you'll understand the present world. If you go now to Egypt, now suppose you go to Egypt with only this was discussion, many things you'll start understanding there. Indirectly, their belief systems and the feel of a culture. When you come to India, we know it is India. It is all the result of the past. Okay. So that completes our 2 civilizations today. So it is a continuation of the last class actually. So 2 civilizations have been completed. If you have any questions. Okay, Satish, how much time is over? 30 minutes over? Is it 3:30? 3:40. So that's our time now. Tomorrow we'll come up with 2 more civilizations, Indus Valley civilization and the Chinese civilization. Indus Valley civilization was there in the river Indus and Chinese civilization was near Huang Ho. If there's any question, anyone has given any question or any comment there? Any comment? No. No comments. Okay. So if you want, you can keep your comments there. We will meet. So as we can see, we are slowly coming. And after the 10-20 days, I think it will take another 25 classes. I'll bring you till the modern world. Okay. And we all will go through it. I'm also learning a lot. Thank you so much. I'm also, while teaching, I'm learning so much from all you people. I hope the little I'm sharing with you is enough. Thank you so much.